Welcome back to Bonanza Disc Golf. Let's go crash another tags match. And I have some new discs in my bag. I got this Bounty, just kidding, Warrant from DD. Not sure if I like it or not, but I need an understable mid. Got an MD3 for my mid-ranges, and then a Coalesce, kind of in a Thunderbird slot, which I'm really stoked about. Still need a flippy distance driver, and I actually am gonna put a Sexton Firebird in my bag instead of the Firebird that I have had. Put a little Sexy Bird in there, and I'm also gonna change this P1 out for a PA3, a Gannon-Bird PA3, because Gannon is awesome, as well as this A2 for my approach disc, just because I want to support Gannon, all the crap that he's going through. Got a really good tag, so hopefully we can maintain our tags and just play a solid round, but either way, we're just going to go. I'm a little tired, have some fun, and practice a little bit of off-arm stuff in a tournament round. Not tournament, but tags. You know, I put pressure on myself. So today, the big thing that I really want to focus on is obviously I want to win. Like, I always come to these thinking that I can win. So the putt's going to be important to stay dialed in that. I have been filming a lot and not doing as much training because, honestly, this is my job. So this is more important than training right now because that's not yet my job. And this isn't yet sustainable at less than, like, 20 to 25 videos a month. So I like filming a lot, but I want to make sure that while I'm doing this, I'm focusing on my off arm being down, walking up slow and controlled, and keeping my head placement not looking up as I throw the disc. The biggest key today, I think, is gonna be to go out there, have fun, be slow and deliberate, and not try to overdo it or rush it. Because when I rush it is when my head lifts up, all my timing gets jacked. I just need to be slow, deliberate, and trust that, like, I've been throwing over 400 feet over these past 3 or 4 days, even though my arm's a little bit tired. Don't worry, being healthy, making sure that I'm checking everything. But no matter what happens, I mean, that's why I love playing these tag matches, because I put stakes on them, but there's not actual stakes. Like, my tag does not really matter. It's a little bit of a pride thing, but we'll see what happens. I'm really excited. So I didn't know that this was going to be the case at all, but I actually ended up on a card with 3 people who play in the MPO division, which is really nice. One of them, Fenton, is just under 980 rated and throws really far, so it was actually really fun to be able to be on his card and just kind of see the things that he's able to do. It's always fun to be in proximity of people who throw a lot farther than me. Hole number 1 here is 650 feet downhill, par 4, but it's kind of reachable if you get it with the right shot. The wind was blowing today. It was 15 to 20 mile an hour sustained, so I'm going to take my EchoStar Destroyer here, go ahead and just rip it with the perfect nose angle right down the hill. Honestly, I really wish I had the GoPro on my head or something because the disc landed and skipped right underneath the basket, 650 feet down the hill, and skipped right past it about 70 to 80 feet. So really cool shot to get started. That was a half run, don't tell anybody. Not mad to start out with a birdie. Not a great run though for that eagle. Hole number 2 here, we're actually going to be playing a quote-unquote par 4. Some of these pars are messed up, but we're going to go with what's on UDisc because it makes life a little bit easier. I think there are 3 or 4 holes that should have different pars. This one's only about 280 feet, so I'm thinking about throwing one of my mid-ranges. I'm between Kotuku, maybe MD3, but I decided, you know what, I'm going to disc up to a Firebird because the wind is pushing down that hill. I barely cleared the hill. Not a great shot to get started with. Landed behind that tree, and I thought that I would have a putt to try to actually make a putt and get started, but did not really leave myself with anything as it was. Hole number 3 here is just over this hill. It's only about 250 feet, so I take the A2 and I try to throw it. Well, I just am throwing kind of everything into the ground today. I think I'm trying to focus on too many things, and then when I get up there, I don't focus on anything at all, and so my body just kind of takes over, and it's pretty bad at the moment. I also threw that A2 because I knew that it'd be overstable to fight against the headwind, but when you don't get it into the air or throw it hard, it's still not going to do that. It's just going to be a really overstable disc. So I try to run this putt, but ultimately take a par. Hole number 5 is 500 and change, so I'm taking my EchoStar Destroyer because the wind is pushing right to left. I try to turn it slightly so that the wind would pick it up, but it just kills it since it's on a little bit of Anheuser. I was hoping it'd stay up, but I don't think I throw hard enough. Fenton had thrown a very similar shot and literally parked it. I don't leave myself super far, but I'm underneath a tree, so I just have to pitch up, which I do with an Envy. I'd rather have a just straight skid up there instead of something that's super overstable to skip up to the right of the basket and potentially roll down the hill. So take a birdie, not too mad about it, but it would have been cool to get it at eagle. Hole number 4 is a little bit tricky. It's one of the holes in this course that you have to have a pretty big hyzer in order to get there and still get a little bit lucky. So I go ahead and take my Star Destroyer, my slightly more overstable one. Thought I threw a perfect shot and just hit one of the Guardian trees, which actually leaves me with a really bad lie. Now this hole is 330 feet, so you could just go up the middle with like a fairway or a mid-range, but I ended up underneath this tree here and just have to pitch something up from a really awkward stance and lie. It took me a little bit to get into it. Just juice it a little too much because I wanted to make sure that I hit that initial gap, and throwing a little bit slower, I didn't know if I 100% could have. Luckily, I stay in bounds just dry, and I have this putt to save the par, which would be really good because I love bogey-free rounds, especially out here when I have to scramble a little bit, but the putter just doesn't work for me in this instance. But forehand putts sometimes do. Now, one of the things that makes this course potentially one of the better ones in the Denver Metro is the elevation change. This is 330 feet, so I'm taking my EchoStar Destroyer on an Anheuser line, which I've been working on a little bit more, and end up actually almost throwing it in. Super stoked, because this is a hole that I'm not super anticipating that I'm actually going to make, but to land about 40 feet past it on 330, pretty uphill, I'm pretty stoked about, especially fighting against a little bit of wind. But it does leave me with a pretty scary putt. You can see the wind is blowing, and I just know that if I throw this into this left to right crosswind, it's going to drop, so aim high. And drop it does. Really good putt to make, bringing us over to hole number 7, which is 230 feet up the hill. I decided to throw my Envy because the wind was pushing right to left, and I knew that that would get to the ground a little bit more than a flippier disc, but I did end up kind of throwing it a little bit hard, which landed me probably just outside the circle on the backside, leaving me with this putt. Obviously not what I wanted to do there, but able to tap in for the par, moving us on to hole number 8, which is a 470-foot par 4. This is one of the questionable ones as well because it's slightly downhill. The wind is pushing up the hill, though, left to right, so I decided to take my overstable destroyer, my stable to overstable destroyer, not my Calvin, and I throw it flat up the flat part of the hill so that it will have this ability to get back, and it does, but you could just see the wind did not want to let it get down towards the basket, so we're pin high about 40 feet.
The wind is like,
yeah, it would have been a big skip.
Another quote-unquote eagle bid gone to waste, but not a worry, still got the birdie as a star frame on that hole. Hole number 9 here though, 335 feet straight down this hill. Everyone is thinking about taking the big hyzer, and some people have, but I just don't really think I have the power to take the big hyzer because the wind is pushing so hard from the left to the right. But I know if I throw an overstable disc down that center gap, it should be able to just stay straight. So I throw my Kotuku, and I'm really happy with it. It just hits the branch and just like hovers in the air for a second as the wind holds it and gets just smacked right down, leaving me with a pretty tough upshot here. And this, I would say, is probably one of my best executed shots of the day. I know, hey, throw it hard, keep the nose angle down, same exact shot, just there's less tree branches to worry about now. Throw the Kotuku basically straight at the basket on some hyzer hard, and there will be bushes to catch it.
good stop.
Really stoked on that. That's one of the better executed shots I have all day, and it leaves me with this putt for the par. So through 9 holes, I'm pretty happy. We go ahead and check scores. I'm only 2 back of Fenton, who's in the lead right now, and I'm not really throwing the disc super well. Now, he just throws probably the best shot this hole's ever seen, because it's 340 feet straight up the hill, and then I throw one of the worst shots that this hole's ever seen, but it's something that I'm able to just take my pig, pitch it up, take a par, not be too mad. The name of the game here in the wind is to take your opportunities when you get them and to minimize your mistakes. Minimize, however you say that. I am taking my MB here because it's about 315 feet, basically just past where that little bush that you might be able to barely see is, and the wind is pushing a tailwind slightly right to left. So I throw it out a little bit wide on a hyzer, make sure that I throw the right distance. They say that has a chance to go in. Don't really care about that though. I just want to be close, and luckily I am, with a pretty tricky putt because the wind is pushing basically directly right to left here. My glitch is just to mark it. Don't worry, I'm not actually throwing the glitch, but I forgot all my minis. But this putt is one of the putts that I'm more proud of on the day. You saw how much that lifted right there, and I called that, so I aimed very low right, made a really good putt. Hole 12 is only 215 feet, but the wind is ripping left to right down here. So I go ahead and throw my pig, and I try to throw it pretty low, but the wind just lifts it right up. Not really a bad shot, but after this we actually have a little bit of a glitch off, and I'll show you that glitch shot as well, just showing you I'm literally aiming to the tree that's to the left of that shed with how crazy this wind is coming.
They're actually pretty impressive in the wind.
Now this is not a far or hard putt. I know that the wind is coming as a tail, so I need to throw it a little bit hard. I just basically need to commit to the putt, and I step off of it to kind of reset, knowing, hey, I'm gonna miss this putt, and so I reset and try to regain that, and I'm like, no, I can make this putt, but I only like a quarter believe it, and so this is what happens. I gotta figure out a cue to be like confident and like how to reset. I never seem to do that within the 30 seconds that I need. So I know that that putt was for a stroke on the lead, which would have put me within 2. I know that it's kind of slipping a little bit. I'm gonna need to find some strokes. Now this hole here, Fenton walks up and parks because it is like 330 uphill with a very strong left to right. I take my overstable destroyer thinking that I can hyzer flip it because the wind will push it over. Doesn't quite get over all the way and unfortunately hits that tree, which leaves me with this putt here, which I know Fenton is parked. He's the one who's in the lead right now, and so it'll go back to either 3 or 4 strokes.
It did, but it was motoring.
Pretty decent bid, just leave it a little bit low and a little bit left, but of course there's the obligatory glitch shot since this is just a tags match and doesn't matter that much. Now I know that the lead is pretty much slipped away from me unless something crazy happens and I have to basically get a little bit aggressive and take some strokes. Hole number 14 here, there is a lot of wind. Everyone's gone to the right side of that tree with a hyzer, but since the wind is pushing from the right to left, I decided to throw the forehand. And I throw it with the destroyer where I probably should have thrown it with a Firebird or the Thomas Gilbert Coalesce because I end up going about 40 or 50 deep. It is 420 feet, but it is downhill, and I watch as the leader, Fenton, throws his upshot and kind of fluffs it to where he's probably not going to make a putt because the wind at this point is probably gusting in the 20 to 30 mile an hour range. And so I step up to this putt and say, hey, let's make this. Take at least 1 stroke, probably 2 strokes. Don't make it, but don't give myself a super hard putt. Not as easy as if I would have just laid up. And this is the sequence that happened to make it so. I watch Fenton tap in a 5. I go up to putt. And I watch my disc roll 95 to 100 feet away from the basket down the hill. Very frustrated about that. So I could either go back to the disc, pitch up, and try to make it, but I know my mistake is I just did not commit, didn't get my chest high enough, so I decided I'm just going to re-putt this, which means I add an additional stroke and take a 5, which I'm not making the throw-in from back there, so I'm taking the same score as if I would have pitched up that one, and I probably had a higher percentage of making that putt than pitching that other one up and making a putt.
What a baby.
That's one where if they make a mistake, don't try to be greedy and take 2 strokes like I did with that putt. Just lay up to the pin. And then also just like throw a putt. Gosh, man. So that's where it's really good to know your rules, and I was able to take advantage of that and probably get the same, if not a better score than I would have from back where that disc had landed. Moving into hole number 15, 353 feet on U-disc, but I think it's probably closer to about 250, and the wind is pushing pretty hard from the right to the left, and I was surprised to see everyone take a backhand hyzer. I'm going to throw the forehand hyzer, which I think would be the right shot if I don't just sky this super nose up into the air and throw it like 20 feet. At this point, I'm getting a little disappointed about my play. I probably should stay in the game, even though it's just tags, it doesn't matter too much, and that's something that I should probably work on as well, is just making sure that I stay in the game, because here, I'm like, let's take my medicine, make an easy par, and just got super lazy with this pitch up with the pig. That probably puts me to about 35 feet, which puts me with this putt, which I again miss, so we go double bogey and then bogey. So we have 4 bogey strokes on the card, really not happy about it. 3 holes left though, let's try to turn it around, do something good, and that moves us into hole number 16, which they call a par 4 because there was a farther longer position, but it's really only about 250 feet, and I say, hey, I'm not bad at forehands, regardless of what the last hole showed. Let's go ahead and throw this pig on a nice easy forehand. Since the wind is pushing from the right to the left, it'll fight against the wind and just stay super straight, and I finally parked the hole for quote-unquote eagle. Hole 17, it's about 280 to 300 feet up the hill into a basically head right to left, and so you really need to figure out the stability of your disc and your nose angle. I go ahead and throw my Echo Star Destroyer, which I think is actually the wrong choice. I should have thrown my blue one that I've been throwing a little bit, which is my stable to overstable one, but I end up turning it over. The wind turns it over even more, and it just beats into that hill. Pitch up a glitch, take a par, move on to hole number 18, the last hole of the day, which is 330 straight uphill. Go ahead and take my Flippy Destroyer. Wind is pushing left to right, so you really have to give it a lot of height, and I put a little anhyzer aiming to the left. That way it would push it back straight where it stays super straight and leaves me with honestly an inside the circle putt to end the day. So let's just knock that down and be happy.
Oh my gosh, like a NAD GT thing.
Well, obviously it didn't have the best showing. I think I took 4th or something out of like 12 or 13 people. I just kind of let myself go after that double bogey. bad decision. It's a good thing to realize. Like, take your medicine if you're 45 feet and you don't trust that you can make the putt, because I really did not. Took the 54 tag, which is a little bit lower than the 15 tag. Want to definitely get back into the golds instead of the silvers. But I've really been enjoying making these tags videos because they are a little bit more competitive. I'm a very competitive person, so no matter what I do, I'm going to compete at it. But it's nice to have these again. I'm excited for tournaments that'll be coming up soon. Figuring out my bag and doing some field work, which I actually am getting on a call in 15 minutes with someone who also has a channel and throws pretty far and is a smaller-ish guy, so hopefully he can help me out a little bit with figuring some things out. But I've taken like 2 days off throwing, which feels so weird, but still videos because I got plenty backlogged and plenty more to make. Appreciate you guys and your support. If you want to, please subscribe. That would mean a lot to me. Like the video, it would also mean a lot to me. Joining my Patreon would also mean a lot. There's a lot of things that mean a lot to me, so do whatever you want though, because it's your life. Great outros. Watch the last tags match that I played right down here. A whole lot of fun. If you guys have any ideas for the names of this series, please let me know. If there's any that I end up going with, as always, I'll send you some discs. Don't have any names or plans. I'd love something that could go in the title every time. That would be catchy, because having to figure out titles and thumbnails for videos is a little annoying every single time. But it is what it is. And I really appreciate you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, love you. Bye.